Beneath a quiet hill in central China, something ancient has remained sealed for more than 2,000 years. No light has entered it. No human footsteps have crossed its floor. Even today, with all modern technology, no one dares to open the tomb of China's first emperor. The hill stands near the city of Xi'an, ordinary at first glance. There are no warning signs carved into stone, no visible doors or ruins. And yet, beneath this mound lies one of the most mysterious and feared burial sites in human history. The tomb belongs to Qin Shi Huang, the first man to unite China as a single empire. He ruled more than 2 centuries before the Roman Empire reached its height. His decisions shaped China's laws, writing system, roads, and borders in ways that still matter today. In 259 BCE, a boy named Ying Zheng was born in the western state of Qin. At the time, China was not one country. It was divided into rival kingdoms locked in near-constant war, a period known as the Warring States. Source: Chinese Historical Records, 3rd century BCE. Ying Zheng became king as a teenager after his father's death. As he grew older, he proved to be a skilled and ruthless leader. Through long military campaigns, he defeated rival states one by one, using strict discipline and advanced weapons for the time. By 221 BCE, the wars ended. Ying Zheng stood alone as ruler of all major Chinese states. He declared himself Qin Shi Huang, meaning First Emperor, a title never used before. Source: Imperial Qin Records. Soon after taking power, Qin Shi Huang ordered massive construction projects across the empire. Roads, canals, defensive walls, and palaces reshaped the land. At the same time, work intensified on an underground complex near Mount Li, his future burial place. According to later historical accounts, construction on the tomb began early in his reign and continued for decades. Source: Sima Qian, Records of the Grand Historian, c. 100 BCE. The project grew as the emperor's power grew, expanding into a vast underground world. Ancient texts claim that hundreds of thousands of workers were involved. Craftsmen shaped stone and bronze. Laborers moved earth by hand. Prisoners and soldiers worked under strict control. Document: Han Dynasty Chronicles. In 210 BCE, Qin Shi Huang died during a journey through his empire. His death was kept secret for a time, reportedly to prevent unrest. When his body was finally returned, the tomb was sealed. The entrances were hidden. The workers were dismissed and history moved on. Soon after, the Qin dynasty collapsed. Rebellion and chaos followed. Over time, detailed knowledge of the tomb faded, preserved only in written records and local legend. The burial mound remained untouched. For centuries, historians debated whether the ancient descriptions could be trusted. The main source, Sima Qian, wrote more than 100 years after the emperor's death. He never saw the tomb himself and relied on earlier reports. Sima Qian described an underground palace meant to mirror the empire above. He wrote of rivers and seas made of liquid mercury, flowing through channels beneath the earth. Source: Records of the Grand Historian. He also reported mechanical crossbows designed to fire automatically at intruders. For a long time, these details were treated as exaggeration. Ancient historians often used dramatic language. Many scholars believed the accounts were symbolic rather than literal. That view began to change in 1974. Farmers digging a well near Xi'an uncovered fragments of clay figures. Source: Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, 1974. Archaeologists soon realized they had found part of a massive underground army. Thousands of life-size terracotta soldiers were later excavated, arranged in battle formation. No two faces were exactly the same. The discovery confirmed that at least part of the ancient records were accurate. Even then, the central tomb remained sealed. Archaeologists studied the surrounding pits but stopped short of the burial mound itself. The heart of the complex was left untouched. Some experts argue the dangers have been overstated. Others point to the advanced skills of Qin-era engineers. What all sides agree on is this: no one knows for certain what still waits inside. The tomb is there. The records exist. The evidence surrounds it. But the seal remains unbroken. For centuries, the emperor's tomb existed only as words on fragile pages. Stories passed down through historians, copied by hand, debated, doubted, and often dismissed. Many believed the warnings were exaggerated, shaped by fear and imagination rather than fact. The most detailed account came from a court historian named Sima Qian. Writing more than 100 years after the emperor's death, he described a burial unlike any other. According to his records, the tomb was not a simple chamber, but a hidden world beneath the earth. Sima Qian wrote that artisans built palaces, towers, and halls underground, mirroring the emperor's capital above. He claimed the ceiling was painted with stars and constellations, while the floor represented rivers and mountains of China itself. The emperor, he said, intended to rule forever, even in death. The most unsettling detail was the rivers. These were not filled with water but mercury. Ancient texts described liquid metal flowing through carved channels, meant to imitate the Yellow River and the Yangtze. Source: Han Dynasty historical accounts. Mercury, shimmering and poisonous, symbolized power and immortality. Sima Qian also warned of traps. He wrote that mechanical crossbows were hidden in the walls, designed to fire automatically at anyone who entered without permission. The tomb, according to his account, was built to defend itself long after its builders were gone. For generations, scholars questioned these claims. Mercury rivers sounded implausible. Mechanical weapons surviving centuries seemed unlikely. Many believed these passages were symbolic, meant to inspire or rather than describe reality. Then archaeology began to catch up. In the spring of 1974, farmers digging a well near Xi'an struck something solid beneath the soil. At first it looked like broken pottery. Then came a face, a torso, bronze arrowheads. Source: Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, 1974. What emerged shocked the world. Buried beneath the fields was an army made of clay. Thousands of life-sized soldiers stood in formation, each one unique. Faces, hairstyles, armor, even expressions differed from figure to figure. This was the Terracotta Army. And it was real. The discovery confirmed something important. Ancient accounts of the tomb complex were not pure legend. If an army of this scale existed underground, what else might be hidden nearby? Excavations expanded carefully. Archaeologists uncovered infantry units, cavalry, chariots, generals, and command structures. The figures were positioned as if ready for battle, guarding something deeper, something still sealed. But as work continued, another lesson emerged. When the statues were exposed to air, their painted colors began to fade almost immediately. Vivid reds, blues, and purples peeled away within minutes. Source: Conservation Reports, 1980s. The damage was irreversible. This raised a new fear. If painted clay could not survive exposure, what would happen to organic materials, wooden structures, or ancient pigments inside the main tomb? Once opened, they might decay beyond recovery. Because of this, authorities made a decision. The central burial chamber would remain closed. As technology advanced, scientists turned to indirect methods. Soil samples were taken around the burial mound. Chemical analysis revealed something unexpected. Mercury levels in the surrounding earth were far higher than normal. Source: Geochemical Surveys, early 2000s. In some areas, readings exceeded safe background levels by hundreds of times. The pattern of contamination appeared to trace channels beneath the mound, matching the ancient descriptions. Suddenly, the rivers of mercury no longer sounded mythical. Mercury vapor is invisible, odorless, toxic. Even small amounts can cause severe damage to the nervous system when inhaled. Source: World Health Organization Mercury Exposure Reports. If the tomb were opened suddenly, scientists warned, trapped vapors could be released into the air. The risk would not only threaten researchers but also damage the site itself. And mercury was only one concern. If mechanical traps truly existed, no one knew their condition. Ancient bronze and wood can survive for millennia underground. A triggered mechanism could still function, even after centuries of silence. Standing above the mound, scientists faced a choice: knowledge versus preservation, curiosity versus caution. For now, they chose to wait. Beneath a quiet hill in central China, something ancient has remained sealed for more than 2,000 years. No doors have opened. No footsteps have entered. And even today, no one is sure what would happen if they did. From above, the mound looks ordinary. Earth, grass, wind passing over it like any other field. There are no ruins, no warning signs, no visible trace of what lies below. Yet this hill has become one of the most carefully avoided places in archaeology. It sits near the modern city of Xi'an, watched, studied, measured, but never disturbed. Not because it has been forgotten, but because it has been remembered too well. The tomb belongs to Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unite China. He ruled in the 3rd century BCE, long before Rome reached its peak, long before most modern nations existed. His reign reshaped an entire civilization. Before him, China was divided into rival states, locked in almost constant war. Borders shifted. Alliances collapsed. Violence was common and stability was rare. This period became known as the Warring States. Qin Shi Huang ended it. Through relentless military campaigns, His armies defeated every major rival. One by one, independent kingdoms fell. By 221 BCE, the wars were over. For the first time, China was unified under a single ruler. He did not rule quietly. He standardized laws, writing, weights, and currency. He ordered vast roads cut through mountains and plains. Defensive walls were linked and expanded, laying early foundations for what would become the Great Wall. Power was centralized, controlled, enforced. But while the empire grew stronger above ground, another project was taking shape below it. Near Mount Li, work began on a structure unlike anything built before. Not a monument, not a palace. Something hidden, something meant to last. Ancient records suggest construction started early in the emperor's reign. As his power increased, so did the scale of the underground complex. Thousands of workers were brought in. Earth was moved by hand. Stone was cut and fitted deep below the surface. This was not a simple grave. It was designed as a continuation of rule. When Qin Shi Huang died in 210 BCE, his death was kept secret for days. The empire was fragile. News traveled slowly. Stability mattered. Only after preparations were complete was his body returned for burial. Then the tomb was sealed. Entrances were hidden. Access routes were closed. The earth above was shaped to erase any sign of what lay beneath. And within a few years, the Qin dynasty itself collapsed into rebellion and chaos. Knowledge faded. The mound remained. For centuries, the tomb existed only in text. Historians wrote about it. Scholars debated it. Most assumed it had been looted or destroyed long ago. After all, few ancient tombs survive untouched. This one did. The silence finally broke in 1974, when farmers digging a well nearby struck something solid underground. What they uncovered was not stone or brick, but clay. Then a face. Then a weapon. Beneath the field stood an army. Thousands of life-sized soldiers, arranged in battle formation, each one unique. Infantry, cavalry, generals, chariots, all facing east as if guarding against an unseen threat. The Terracotta Army proved something important. The ancient accounts were not exaggerations. If an army of this scale existed underground, then the heart of the complex was likely just as extraordinary. Yet even then, the central tomb was left untouched. Archaeologists excavated around it, not into it. They documented what they could see, measured what they could detect, and stopped short of the mound itself. Because this was no longer just about discovery. It was about what could be lost. The tomb remains sealed not because it is unreachable, but because opening it may be irreversible. Once the air changes, once the balance is broken, there is no way back. And so the hill remains quiet. Not forgotten. Not abandoned. Just unopened. For centuries, the sealed tomb of Qin Shi Huang has invited the same question again and again. Why not open it? The usual answer is danger. Mercury. Traps. Fragile artifacts. But beneath those concerns lies a more complicated reason. One that has less to do with fear of the past and more to do with responsibility to it. Because once a tomb like this is opened, it cannot be closed again. Archaeology is not reversible. Air changes chemistry. Light breaks pigments. Microorganisms awaken. Every excavation is a decision to trade permanence for knowledge. And in the case of China's first emperor, that trade may be irreversible in ways we still don't fully understand. Modern technology gives the illusion of control. We talk about climate regulation, sealed chambers, robotic probes, and non-invasive scanning. But history has shown that even careful excavation can destroy what it seeks to preserve. The Terracotta Army taught that lesson clearly. The moment the figures were exposed, their colors began to disappear. Not slowly. Not over decades. Within minutes. What survived underground for 2,000 years was undone in a single afternoon. The same risk applies inside the central tomb. Ancient records describe wooden structures, textiles, lacquered surfaces, and painted ceilings. These are materials that rarely survive exposure, even under ideal conditions. Once the internal environment is disturbed, decay accelerates beyond human control. This is why many archaeologists argue that restraint is not cowardice, it is discipline. Opening the tomb prematurely could answer questions while permanently erasing the evidence needed to verify those answers. There is also the matter of scale. This is not a single chamber. Surveys suggest a complex network of rooms, corridors, and sealed spaces, possibly extending hundreds of meters underground. Stabilizing such a structure would require years of preparation and constant monitoring. One miscalculation could trigger collapse. And then there is mercury. Scientific studies have confirmed elevated mercury levels in the soil surrounding the mound. While the exact quantity inside remains unknown, the readings align closely with ancient descriptions of flowing channels beneath the tomb. Mercury vapor is colorless, odorless, and highly toxic. Even a controlled breach could release gas into confined spaces. Containment systems would need to function perfectly, without precedent, in an environment never meant to be disturbed. No excavation in history has dealt with a sealed mercury system on this scale. But danger is not the only reason for hesitation. There is also cultural memory. In Chinese tradition, the tomb is not simply an archaeological site. It is a resting place, a boundary between worlds. Disturbing it carries meaning beyond science. Modern China does not see Qin Shi Huang as a myth. He is a historical figure whose legacy still shapes national identity. Opening his tomb is not a neutral act. It is a statement. This is why the decision to wait is not made by archaeologists alone. It involves historians, chemists, conservationists, government officials, and cultural authorities, all weighing the same question from different angles. What do we gain? What do we risk? And who decides when the balance tips? Some argue that waiting is itself dangerous. Earthquakes, groundwater shifts, pollution, and time all pose threats. A sealed tomb is not a frozen moment. It exists within a changing landscape. Others argue that technology will improve, that patience may one day make safe excavation possible. Both views may be correct. And that uncertainty is the point. The tomb of China's first emperor remains sealed not because we are incapable, but because we are cautious. Because history has taught us that knowledge taken too quickly can be lost just as fast. Standing above the mound today, nothing appears unusual. The ground is quiet, the surface unchanged. But beneath it lies a decision still being made. Not once, but every year. Whether to open the past, or protect it. And that choice may say as much about us as it does about the emperor buried below. For most of history, the greatest danger to ancient sites was ignorance. People dug without restraint. They took what they could carry. They exposed what they didn't yet know how to protect. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang exists in a different moment. Not because it is safer than other sites, but because the cost of being wrong is now fully understood. Waiting in this case is not hesitation. It is an active decision. Archaeology is not simply about discovery. It is about preservation under uncertainty. Every sealed space holds a delicate balance of temperature, humidity, chemistry, and microbial life. Once that balance is broken, it cannot be restored. The moment air enters, irreversible change begins. This is not theory. It has already happened. When the Terracotta Army was first exposed, the figures lost their color almost instantly. Pigments that survived more than 2,000 years underground could not survive minutes in open air. That lesson still shapes every decision made at the site today. Inside the main burial chamber, researchers believe conditions may be even more fragile. Organic materials, wood, lacquer, textiles, could exist in a state of suspended preservation. Opening the tomb without absolute environmental control could cause these materials to warp, crack, or vanish before they are recorded. And then there is the mercury. Scientific surveys have detected elevated mercury levels in the soil around the mound. The pattern aligns with ancient descriptions of liquid mercury channels beneath the tomb. Mercury does not need to be visible to be dangerous. In enclosed spaces, it evaporates slowly, forming toxic vapors. Releasing those vapors suddenly would endanger both researchers and the site itself. But waiting also carries risk. Time is not neutral. Groundwater shifts. Microfractures expand. Seismic activity reshapes subsurface spaces over centuries. Even a sealed tomb is not frozen in time. This creates a dilemma that has no perfect solution. Open too early and knowledge is destroyed by exposure. Wait too long and nature may damage what human hands preserved. So researchers observe instead. They monitor mercury levels in surrounding soil. They scan the subsurface with non-invasive imaging. They study Qin-era construction techniques through related sites. Each year, technology improves slightly. Sensors become more sensitive. Robotic tools become smaller. Environmental control systems become more precise. The goal is not speed. The goal is readiness. This approach reflects a shift in how modern archaeology defines success. In the past, discovery meant access. Today, restraint is often the greater achievement. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang has become a case study not in what we know, but in how we choose to act when knowledge is incomplete. There is also a cultural dimension. For many in China, the tomb is not simply an archaeological site. It is a national symbol. A place tied to identity, continuity, and memory. Opening it prematurely would not only risk scientific loss but cultural harm. This adds another layer of caution. Science can wait. Once damage is done, history cannot be undone. And so the tomb remains sealed, not because humanity lacks curiosity, but because curiosity has learned limits. What lies inside is still unknown. But what the waiting itself reveals is already clear. It shows how far archaeology has come, how much it has learned from past mistakes, and how sometimes the most responsible act is not to open a door, but to leave it closed until we are certain we won't destroy what we're trying to understand. For more than 2,000 years, the tomb of China's first emperor has remained closed. Not because no one knows where it is and not because technology is lacking, but because opening it would force us to confront something archaeology rarely admits out loud. That some discoveries are too complete to rush. Modern archaeology is built on access. We excavate. We document. We preserve. We move forward. But the tomb of Qin Shi Huang interrupts that rhythm. It sits outside the usual logic of discovery, not as a mystery begging to be solved, but as a boundary, a place where caution overrides curiosity. This alone makes it unusual. Most ancient sites deteriorate because they are exposed. Weather erodes them. Human activity damages them. Time works openly. The emperor's tomb is different. It has survived precisely because it was sealed, stable, and untouched. And that raises a difficult question. If preservation depends on isolation, how much knowledge have we already lost by opening sites too early? The Terracotta Army provides an uncomfortable answer. When the first figures were excavated, archaeologists expected to reveal color and detail. Instead, exposure destroyed what time had protected. Pigments that survived underground for over 2 millennia vanished in minutes. The damage was not intentional. It was irreversible. That lesson reshaped the conversation around the tomb itself. For the first time, restraint became a scientific strategy rather than a political one. Because the greatest risk is not what might be inside. It's what might be lost forever once the seal is broken. Inside the burial chamber, conditions have remained stable for centuries. Constant humidity, minimal oxygen exchange, chemical equilibrium. These are the exact conditions conservators struggle to recreate in laboratories. Opening the tomb would destroy that balance instantly. Air would enter. Moisture levels would shift. Microorganisms would activate. Chemical reactions would begin. Even with modern containment systems, no one can guarantee full control. And unlike a ruined wall or broken artifact, damage here would not be localized. It would cascade. This forces archaeology into an unfamiliar position. One where the most responsible action is delay. Not denial. Not fear. Delay. Because time in this case is not the enemy. It is the shield. There is also a cultural dimension that cannot be ignored. Qin Shi Huang was not simply a ruler. He was a foundational figure in Chinese identity, a man whose actions unified language, law, and territory. His tomb is not just an archaeological site. It is a cultural boundary. Opening it prematurely would not only risk physical damage but symbolic harm, the loss of control over how history is revealed, interpreted, and remembered. This is why the decision to wait is not made lightly. Scientists debate it. Historians argue over it. Engineers model scenarios. And still the answer remains the same. Not yet. The tomb forces us to confront a quiet truth, that knowledge does not always improve with speed, and that restraint can be a form of respect, for evidence, for culture, and for the future. Because once something this intact is disturbed, it can never return to silence. And silence in this case is not emptiness. It is preservation. The tomb remains sealed not because we are afraid of what is inside, but because we understand what is at stake. And that understanding may be one of the most mature moments in the history of archaeology. For centuries, the unopened tomb of Qin Shi Huang has been framed as a mystery. But in reality, it is something more complicated. It is a decision. Modern archaeology is built on a principle that seems simple on the surface. Uncover the past, study it, preserve it. But the tomb forces researchers to confront a quieter question. What happens when uncovering something guarantees its destruction? Every archaeological excavation is irreversible. Once a sealed environment is opened, it can never be returned to its original state. Air enters. Moisture shifts. Chemical reactions begin. What survived for thousands of years in balance can collapse in weeks or even hours. The Terracotta Army taught this lesson the hard way. When the first statues were uncovered, their painted surfaces were exposed to oxygen for the first time in over 2,000 years. The pigments, stable underground, reacted immediately. Colors flaked. Layers peeled away. Details vanished before conservation techniques could respond. That damage cannot be undone. The central tomb carries that risk multiplied many times over. Unlike the surrounding pits, the burial chamber is believed to contain organic materials, wood, lacquer, textiles, possibly even preserved remains. These materials are far more vulnerable than clay or stone. Once exposed, they could decay faster than researchers could document them. And there is no rehearsal for an excavation like this. No second attempt. No reset. Which leads to an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the most responsible scientific choice is restraint. Opening the tomb would almost certainly answer questions. But it would also eliminate the possibility of future answers. Answers that might only become accessible with technologies that do not yet exist. This is where archaeology collides with ethics. Is it better to satisfy curiosity now, knowing the cost? Or to wait, knowing that waiting itself carries risk? Time does not stop underground. Earth shifts. Water seeps. Microfractures expand. Even sealed, the tomb is not frozen in perfection. But the rate of decay underground is often far slower than what exposure would trigger. This is why many experts argue that the tomb should remain closed until preservation methods can guarantee stability. Not probable preservation. Not partial preservation. But confidence. And that standard is difficult to meet. The public often asks a simple question. If we can't open it safely now, when will we be able to? The honest answer is uncomfortable. No one knows. Scientific progress is not linear. Some breakthroughs arrive suddenly. Others take generations. What feels impossible today may become routine tomorrow, or remain out of reach far longer than expected. Meanwhile, the tomb continues to exist in a strange state. Not lost. Not forgotten. Not studied. But deliberately untouched. This challenges how we think about knowledge itself. We are accustomed to the idea that discovery is always good. That uncovering truth is inherently valuable. But archaeology reminds us that information is not abstract. It is tied to physical things that can be damaged, altered, or destroyed. Knowing something can come at the cost of losing it forever. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang has become a symbol of that tension. It represents the limits of our control, the consequences of curiosity, and the responsibility that comes with power over the past. For now, the decision stands. The tomb remains sealed. The emperor remains undisturbed. And history waits, not because it is hidden but because it is fragile. The longer the tomb remains sealed, the more it changes how historians think about discovery itself. Because this is not a case of ignorance. Researchers know where the burial chamber is. They know its approximate size. They know it exists beneath the mound. What they don't know is how to enter without destroying what they're trying to understand. And that distinction matters. Most archaeological discoveries are reactive. Something is found. It is excavated. Damage is managed after the fact. Here the order is reversed. Damage is anticipated before discovery happens. That makes this site unusual, not because of what it contains but because of the restraints surrounding it. In recent decades, Chinese researchers have focused on learning from the outside in. Soil chemistry, remote sensing, environmental modeling. Each method adds fragments of understanding without breaking the seal. One of the most revealing approaches has been long-term monitoring. Sensors placed around the mound track temperature, moisture, and subtle ground movement. These measurements show that the underground environment has remained remarkably stable for centuries. That stability is not accidental. Ancient builders clearly understood sealing. The burial mound was layered carefully. Earth compacted. Drainage managed. Airflow restricted. The goal appears to have been isolation. And isolation is preservation. Opening the tomb would instantly end that equilibrium. Fresh oxygen would enter. Humidity would shift. Microbial life would activate. Even with modern equipment, controlling those changes perfectly is not currently possible. This has led to an uncomfortable realization. Some discoveries cannot be rushed. In fact, rushing them may destroy the very information they carry. This challenges a long-standing assumption in archaeology that excavation is always progress. Here, excavation could mean loss. That's why many researchers argue the most responsible decision is patience. Technology evolves faster than stone decays. Techniques that don't exist yet may one day allow the tomb to be entered safely, or studied without opening at all. That future perspective changes how the site is viewed today. The tomb becomes less a mystery waiting to be solved, and more a boundary showing how far current knowledge can go. There is also a cultural dimension to this restraint. The tomb is not only an archaeological site. It is a national symbol. Qin Shi Huang's legacy remains complex. He unified China, but ruled harshly. He standardized systems, but suppressed dissent. His burial reflects that same duality: grandeur, control, fear of disturbance. For modern China, the tomb represents continuity as much as curiosity. Opening it prematurely would not just risk scientific loss, it would risk cultural loss. And that adds another layer to the decision. Every year the tomb remains sealed, debates continue. Some argue that knowledge delayed is knowledge denied. Others counter that knowledge destroyed is lost forever. Between those positions lies a narrow path. Wait, measure, refine, and accept that not every question must be answered immediately. The sealed tomb forces modern science into an unfamiliar role. Not conqueror, not revealer, but guardian. Standing watch over something ancient, powerful, and fragile. Waiting until understanding is strong enough to justify intrusion. And that waiting may itself be part of the story. Because some structures were not designed to be rushed. They were designed to endure.